Namaskritta naran chaiva narottamam deving saraswating vyasam tato jayamudire srinnatam shakata krishna punno sabano kirtanam hridiyantasto hi avadrani vidhunoti shurit shatam nashto prayesho avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhakti bhavati nustiki. So I'm sharing the screen. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Oh, Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Esho bhutani bhutatma bhutesho bhutavavano shaktaya maya shashakta maya yuktaha srijoti cha pati cha esho bhutani bhutatma bhutesho bhutavavano shashakta maya yuktaha srijoti otti cha pati cha esho bhutani bhutatma bhutesho bhutavavano shashakta maya yuktaha srijoti otti cha pati cha. Anybody can.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please
Can I
continue.
go through?
Yes, please continue, Prabhuji.
Esha bhutani bhutatma bhuteshu bhuta bhavana shasaktya maya yukta sriyati ati cha pati cha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
I will try.
Yes.
Esho bhutani bhutatma bhutesho bhuto bhavanah shashakta maya yuktah srijoti yotti cha pati cha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I'll try to. Esa bhutani bhutatma bhuteso bhuta bhavana sa satya maya yukta shriyati aticha paticha.
Hare Krishna, I am trying.
Yes, surely, Prabhu.
Esha bhutani bhutatma bhutesha bhuta bhavanah shasaktaya mayaya yuktaya srijati aticha paticha. Hare Krishna.
Can anyone please read out the synonyms, please? What else I can read out? Esha, these, Bhutani, all created beings. Bhutatma, the super soul of all living entities. Bhuta Isha, the controller of everyone. Bhuta Bhavana, maintainer of everyone. Shashokta, through his energy. Maya, the external energy. Yuktaha, through such agency. Srijoti, creates. Otti, annihilates. Cho, and. Pati, maintains. Cho, and. Translation, can anyone please read out the?
Yes, I can try, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the super soul of all living entities. He is the controller and maintainer of everyone through the agency of his external energy. He creates, maintains, and annihilates everyone. Hare Krishna.
And anyone can read out the purport, please?
I'll try to read that. Prabhupada by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are two kinds of energies in the matter of creation. The Lord creates this material world through his external material energy, whereas the spiritual world is manifestation of his internal energy. He is always associated with the internal energy, but he is always aloof from the material energy. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, the Lord says, Matstani sarabhutani achams desava avastita. All living entities are living on me, all my energy, but I am not. everywhere. He is personally always situated in the spiritual world, in the material world also, whereas he is personally situated in the spiritual world. In the material world also, wherever the Supreme Lord is personally present, he is to be understood as being the spiritual world. For example, the Lord is worshipped in the temple by pure devotees. The temple is therefore to be understood as being the spiritual world. So, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Dadati Isha Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Shagrajatam Shavana Raghunathan Tam Shudevam Shraddhaidam Shabadotam Parijana Shoita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shogana Lolita Sri Vishagan Nitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Shute Devi Pranamami Varite Mancha Kalpatarubhyasya Vipashindu Prayevacha Patitanam Papunebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Prabhupada Nugami Sri Shubha Goswami Shada Danya Shri Shubhagaya Sarva Jiva Kripabdve Guru Shiksha Sadachara Palokaya Namastute Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nibhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatta Deshatarini Mukam Karoti Bachalam Pungum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhvam Sri Guru Dinataram. Hare Krishna. At the outset, I beg the mercy of all the Vaishnavas and the devotees present here for their mercy so that I can tell something which would be beneficial to all of you, and I can also purify myself through my speaking by praising the Lords. So as we all know that in this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Swayambhu Manu is advising Dhruva Maharaj, and it is a part of his advice he is doing. And when Dhruva Maharaj has started killing the Yakshas indiscriminately, and Swayambhu Manu is instructing Dhruva Maharaj to stop the killing of Yakshas. He is advising Dhruva Maharaj and reminding him about his duties as a Kshatriya king and also as a devotee of the Lord. In fact, as a matter of duty, any Kshatriya king's duty is he is duty bound to protect his citizens. And Dhruva Maharaj is also a Kshatriya king, so it is also his duty to stop to maintain the law and order in his state. And as a part of, because the Yakshas has killed his younger brother Uttama, it is naturally, it becomes his duty to punish the offenders and bring him to justice. But as a devotee also, his duty is also to remain surrendered to the king, surrendered to the Lord, and preserve the religious principle in his kingdom. Because dharma or the religious principles are nothing but the instructions of the Supreme Lord. Because what the Supreme Lord wants us to remain in the material world, the king ensures it in his kingdom, and through that he ensures discipline. Religious principles are the religious principles are maintained in his kingdom. So, and because dharma, as we have told, that dharma is nothing but the instruction of the Lord. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, and in Canto 6, chapter 3, and verse 19, it is mentioned, dharma tu sakshat bhagavan puritam. That means dharma is nothing but the instruction of the Supreme Lord. No one can create the dharma of his own, it is the Lord's instruction. So as a devotee of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj must enforce it in his kingdom. But what he is doing, he has become angry with the Yakshas, and out of his anger, he is killing them indiscriminately. And this anger is because he is under the illusory understanding that I and my ideas, that means I am doing it or it is my brother, and that is why he is not acting properly, and Swayambhuva Manu is reminding him to remain in the path of religion. And one of the conditions for that is he must control his anger, because anger is a very, very important thing in our life, and we must control our anger. Because if anger is not controlled, then one has every chance of falling down from the religious path. And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 63, it is mentioned that the line starts with that Krodad Bhagavati Shanmoha Sriti Vibram Sriti Vamshat Buddhinashat Pranashruti. So from anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. And when memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool, and he is derailed from the path of devotional service. And ultimately, one falls down from the religious path. And one thing we must remember here, what is very important here, that Swayambhu Manu, who is advising Dhruva Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu is one of the 12 Mahajanas. And the Mahajanas are very important in the life of a devotee, because the devotee follow the path of Mahajanas, and because they are the torchbearer, how the religious principles are to be observed in our daily life. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told in one places that the words of Mahajana is very, very important. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Lila, in chapter 25, verse 56, when he was talking to Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi, and as we all know, Prakashananda Saraswati was a Mayavadi philosopher, and he was trying to impress Chaitanya. He told at one stage Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why you are chanting Hare Krishna Mahaprabhu on the road like a mad person, and your duty is to read Vedanta. But you as a sannyasi, you are doing it Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the road, which is not expected from a sannyasi. That was his idea about things. And subsequently, I'll keep the story short as possible. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, subsequently there was an occasion for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to have a discussion about the religious principles, and subsequently he was able to convince Prakashananda Saraswati what he is doing is right. And one of the verses that is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, as I told, is Madhya Lila 25 and 56. It says that Tate choy darshan hoite tattva nahi jani mohajana jai kahe sei sattamani. That means by studying choy darshan means 6 philosophies. In Indian religious system, there are 6 famous philosophies, and they are called 6 philosophies, or Shoro darshan. Shoro means 6, and darshan means philosophy. So religious darshan, and I can mention here that they are Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Mohajana Choy Darshan Hoite Tattva Nahi Jani. I mean, from these 6 philosophies, they each one of the philosophies have tried to explain the Supreme Personality of God in their own way. And so from there we cannot conclude anything. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling. And why it is that? This is because it is told in the next verse. Next verse in Chaitanya Pujana, that is 25:57, but actually the original verse is from Mahabharata, Bono Porvo, and is 313 and 111. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhulila, chapter 25, verse 57. Torko pratishtha srutoyo vivinna nashao rishiriyasya matam na vinnam mahajana dharmasya tattam nihitam guhayam mahajanayena vatha shopanta. That means torko pratishtha means dry arguments cannot establish the supreme truth. Srutoyo vivinna. Srutoyo vivinna means in the Vedas, different varieties of things have been discussed and analyzed. And no Shao Rishi Yashamotam Bhinna means that Muni or Rishi whose opinion is not different from others, he is not considered as a great Rishi. So from this, and Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhaya, the religious principles are hidden in the hearts of the unadulterated self-realized person. Consequently, the Shastras confirm that Mahajanayena Vatha Shopanta. So Mahajan means the great devotees with unadulterated self-realized person, and from the Shastra are to be considered or construed as they have followed in their life. So that's why the words of Mahajana is very important for us. And in case of Dhruva Maharaj, he has the fortune, he's very good fortunate in the sense that in the first part of his life, when he was making dhyana in the forest, he was instructed by Narad Muni how he has to make austerity. And in this case, when he is deviated from the words of from the religious principle, he is being advised by Swayambhu Manu. So it is very important we follow this instruction in our life, because as I have told that the Mahajana's instruction is very important. And because Dhruva Maharaj has become under illusion, and that happens for most of us in our life. And so we should learn from this instruction that Swayambhu Manu is giving to Dhruva Maharaj. And in this first part of this sloka, and in the Supreme Lord, it is telling that Esho Bhutani Bhutatma Bhutesho Bhutavavana. So that means Supreme Lord who is the super soul of all living being. He is the controller and maintainer of everyone. The first, he is sitting in our heart, in our heart as Paramatma. And as Paramatma feature is the feature of the Supreme Lord, all-pervading nature. As a localized Paramatma, he is situated in everyone's heart. Although he is divided, he seems to be divided when he's with everyone's heart, but he is undivided really. And he is advising him what if we remember that what is Supreme Lord is doing by remaining in our heart, we can understand what we should follow his instruction so that we can remain in the right path. In the case of Dhruva Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu is advising that the Dhruva Maharaj should not take the destiny in his own hand, because Lord as a supreme master and controller of everything, and in all bodies, as I've told, he is present as super soul, and he is all-knowing. He knows everything. He knows our past. He knows our present, and he knows our future. But an individual living body in which the soul resides, or the individual soul, only knows about his own body, and he does not know what has happened in the past. As a well-wisher of us, he what the Supreme Lord is advising, we must try to understand and act accordingly by surrendering to the Supreme Lord. And one who knows the truth that Supreme Lord is present within our heart and is advising us, he never tries to act based on his own the person and the bodily concept of action. He follows what the Supreme Lord decides, or Supreme Lord is trying to advise to us to do. And as an individual living, any individual living entity, as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is intimately related to the Supreme Lord. So as a part and parcel of the Lord, it is our responsibility to act, to channelize our actions for the service of the Lord. When we align our activities with the Lord, with the activities of the Lord, then we find value in our life or in our day-to-day activities. Otherwise, if we try to act independently, which is possible because the Lord has given us certain partial independence, and this partial independence under the control of the material energy, we always think we are trying to act, we are contaminated by the material energy, and we try to act independently, ignoring the Lord. And as a result of which, because of this individual action and under the material energy, we involve ourselves in the activities, and the reactions of our work binds us in this material world. But the Lord is always eager to show us our eternal relationship with the Lord, so that we can act for the service of the Lord and go back to our originals identity, which is to serve the Supreme Lord. And if we do, because of our margin, because of our situation, Dehi and Deho and Dehi, we are, our real identity is our Dehi. That means we are we are the spirit soul. But being encased in the body, we start acting as if we are this material body, and our material relationship in relation to the body, we try to act. And but the Lord is very eager to take us back to our to His own abode, and if we understand that and realize that, then we can go back to Godhead as per the wish of the Lord, and by our activities. Swayambhuva Manu also, at the end of his advice, of course, it is in the next part, next couple of parts, he is telling Dhruva Maharaj to surrender to the Supreme Lord, because by surrendering the Supreme Lord only, one can go back to the Godhead. And it is very similar to, for us in particular, it is very important, as in Bhagavad Gita, the verse in chapter 18, verse 66, the Lord has instructed Arjuna, that Sri Krishna has instructed Arjuna, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Saranam Bhaja. That means, please give up all your bodily dharmas and surrender unto me. So it is this is what the Swayambhuva Manu is referring, advising Dhruva Maharaj to surrender to the Lord. And while in the second part of this translation, second part of this verse, through the agency of his external, it is stated, Shashakta Maya Yukto Srijoti Utticho Paticho. That means, through the agency of his external energy, he creates, maintains, and annihilates everyone. In this instruction, he is telling of the two energies of the Lord, and the purport also Prabhupada has given two energies. There are two kinds of energies in the matter of creation. The Lord creates this material world through the external energy, external material energy, whereas the spiritual world is manifestation of his internal energy. So here we are discussing about this part. I mean, the energy of the Lord. As we all know that the Lord is the source of all material creation and spiritual and material creation, and Lord has infinite and innumerable energies, and no one can measure it, no one can think of it. But broadly, we must say that it can be divided into three categories. The first one is called Antaranga Shakti, which has been translated into English as internal energy or internal potency. And the next one is called Bahiranga Shakti or external energy or other. And the other one in between the two is called Tathastha Shakti or the marginal energy. Thought means it is the borderline, and the internal energy of the Antaranga Shakti of the Lord is transcendental energy of the Lord, and the material creation is done by the Bahiranga Shakti or the external potency. But the living beings who are in between, the living between starting from the Brahma, the having the largest and longest life, and a small ant or an insects or a mosquito, this sort of has very few hours only, or maybe a couple of days. They are all part of this Tatastha Shakti. And according to our Vedic version, the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests and expands himself in various. Now we are trying to tell about the creation, which the Goswami Manu has mentioned about the two energies of the Lord. So in this creation, the Vishnu Tattva manifests according to the Vedic version, the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests and expands in innumerable expansions. And the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva, and the secondary expansions are called the living entities. In other words, Vishnu Tattva is the personal expansion, and living entities are the separated expansions, as all the living beings are his separated expansions of the Lord. And these personal expansions like Lord Rama, Lord Nishimadev, Lord Vishnumurti, and all other predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planet, they are part of his internal energy. And the spiritual sky where the kingdom is situated is the manifestation of its plenary expansion, of a plenary internal manifestation of its internal energy. And for the material creation, the Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnu forms. And the first Purusha is the Karanodakshai Vishnu, and Karanodakshai Vishnu from his skin holds innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purusha enters into Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Garbhodakshai he is lying on the half of the universe, which is full of water with body, and from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu has sprung up the stem of the lotus flower, the birth of Brahma, which is the father of all our living beings, because Brahma is the father of all our living beings, and he has created a secondary creator and master of all demigods, and he has engineered, engaged in the perfection of design and working of the universal order. And within the stem of the lotus, from there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle, and upwards there are planetary system, and the topmost system is called Brahmalok or Sattalok, and down from the earthly planetary system there are 7 planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. And from Garbhodakshai Vishnu is the expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. There is expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who is collective Paramatma of all living beings. And the Lord Hari, the Lord, he is called Hari, and from him all incarnations within the universe are expanded. Therefore, the conclusion is that Purusha Avatar is the manifestation of the three features. And from there, from material creation, Lord's, the first one is Mahavishnu, as I've told, and the material world is the creation of Lord's external energy, as we have told. And this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and chapter 4 also, where the Lord was trying to tell Arjuna about his vibhuti power. And he was telling Bhumi Ropo Anolo Bayu Kong Monobuddhi Regocho Ahankaro Nityam Vinna Prakriti. So these are the separated energy, separated energy of the Lord, and of which the five initial things are Bhumi means earth, and Opo means water, Onlo means fire, and air, and then Bayu means air, and Kong is ether. So these are the five gross elements, and there are three subtle elements. But this material energy is not capable of doing anything of its own. It requires a superior energy or intervention of spiritual energy, and by which it can act. So the next verse in 7.5, it is told that there is another superior energy of mind. Oporeo mitostam annam prakitim vidhime param jiva bhuto mahabhavo paidam dharjate jagat. So there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of the material and inferior nature. And as I have told, the cosmic power has to act upon the intervention of the superior energy, and that superior energy comes from the Lord. And of course, all the energies come from the Lord, but without the interaction of the superior spiritual energy, material things cannot act of their own. And as we all know, some Mayavadi and some materialists, the scientists in particular nowadays, they are trying to tell that the material energy by its own interaction creates the living beings. But this is not correct, as we see here from the Vedic version of creation. The living entities are the superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and same with the Lord. And we are marginal. That means we are in between the material and our body is made of material energy, but our soul is the spiritual energy. So we have a tendency to by default go down to the material level. But if we try to remember the Lord and follow the instruction as given through devotional service, because devotional service is a transcendental activity of the Lord. Devotional service is not a material activity. And so living entity under the influence of material energy, we get contaminated and get entangled in the material activities. And when we get entangled metal, that is called false ego. That is called false ego or the ahankar. But when we get liberated from this material energy by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, then we become spiritual. And everything is a combination. Everything in this material world is a product of matter and spirit. And spirit is the basis of creation, field of creation. Spirit is the basis of creation, and without spirit, the material things interacting cannot create anything new, any material life. The Prabhupada has clearly explained this in various places at various stages of his life, that the material scientist who thinks that the life has come from chemical interaction, but this has not happened really. Now we go to the second part of it, and therefore Bhagavad says not. And now let us see what is the relationship of the Lord with this material world. Because we all know that Lord has created this. He is the source of this, both the spiritual and material world, and He is the original source of all energy. He is the source of all energy, and that's why in Brahma Samhita it is clearly stated that Ishvara Paramo Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Radhir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. So He is the source of all everything, and how He, and in the second part of where Dhruva Maharaj was confused that he was taking the responsibility of punishing the yakshas, thinking that his brother Uttama has been killed by them, so they are responsible for that. But here Swayambhu Manu is trying to explain him that how the material world functions under the instruction of the Lord, but Lord Himself is aloof from that. So one should not think that he has to take control of the things, because with the system set up by the Supreme Lord, it is functioning of its own, and unless and we should not think ourselves as a controller of this system and assume the responsibility of fixing it, because the Lord pervades the entire universe by His energy, and in but Lord is not visible from outside to the common man. Why Lord is not visible to the common man? Can anybody please let me know why Lord is not visible?
Because we are covered by the illusory energy of the Lord, so that's why we can't realize the Lord's presence.
Yes, because
we are matter, we are material covered. We got material senses.
Yes, Prabhuji. That is why it is clearly stated that unless we get ourselves free from it, because Lord is is beyond material concept, and that's why it has been clearly stated that that Lord cannot be seen through our material eyes and material senses, because our eyes and senses are contaminated with material things. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is also clearly stated that Atho Sri Krishna Namadi Navabhed Gayam Indriyoi Shevon Mukhei Jivbhado Swayameva Spuroti Yoda. The Lord Krishna's name first times cannot be understood by material senses. Only to one who is engaged in pure devotional service under proper guidance, He is revealed. This means that when we purify our senses and then Lord is revealed in our heart. And the same is also expressed in Brahma Samhita also, 538. It says, Premanjana Spurita Bhakti Vilochanena Shanto Shadai Buridayeshu Virapayanti. One can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, always within himself and outside himself in one, if one has developed transcendental loving attitude towards it. And this is also explained. So for a common person, he is not visible. And the same thing Lord is also explained in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9. It is mentioned here. It is chapter 4 is here. In verse 9 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 4 is telling Maya tato midam sarvam. That is mentioned in the purport here by Srila Prabhupada, that Matsthani Sarva Yamayatatam Mayatatam Idam Sarvam Jagavata Bhaktamurtina Matsthani Sarva Bhutani. All living beings are within me. You see, all living beings are in me. It is telling, but at the same time, in the next verse, he is telling, in verse 5, same chapter 9, Nocho Matsthani Bhutani, just the opposite of what Lord is telling. That Nocho Matsthani Bhutani Pashyame Yogam Ishwaram Bhuta Vrinnacho Bhutasto Mamatma Bhutavavam. After explaining that everything rests in him, all beings rest in him, Lord says the opposite here, that they don't rest in him. The contradictory language is because the Lord is trying to show us He personally is aloof from all these workings of the universe, and such functions are carried out by His energy. And all the demigods and other, He has created a system by which it is being carried out. It is carried out by other agencies, but He Himself is not directly involved in any of these things. Although He is the maintainer and sustainer, the entire material manifestation, He doesn't touch this material manifestation. Simply by His will, everything is created, everything is sustained, and everything is maintained. Everything is annihilated also. And the difference between us in material, because we are material, to do and work, there is a difference between, we have to perform it by our manual things and all that way. But what the Supreme Lord can do, He simply glances the material world and it impregnated it. So what Lord just desires, it is automatically executed. So that is why it is being told that although everything rests in Him, but again, He is telling that they do not rest in Him because He personally are not taking care of it, but it is being done under His instruction. And that is the difference between material manifestation and the Lord's creation. Everything is resting on Him, and that is the word He is using. The word is Yogam Ishwaram, means mystic part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in fact, between verses 4 to 10 of chapter 9, the Lord is explaining all these things. And I'm just reading a few verses of them. In 9.6, He says that, understand that as the mighty wind blows everywhere, rest always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. That means the Lord, just like it's an example between the sky and the air. Air is a very great thing here. It's manifested all around, but the sky is within the sky. Within the sky, it is there, and just as the air resides within the sky, similarly, everything rests within the Lord. And at the time of creation and annihilation, the creation, the Lord creates it, and at the time of annihilation, it goes back to the Lord. The whole cosmic order is actually manifested again and again, and in this way, He is creating, annihilating, and He is also maintaining all of them. But He is detached from all these material activities. In verse 9, He is telling that I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. And in verse 10, he is telling that this material nature is one of the Maya Dhokshana Prakriti. He is under the control, everything is under His control, but He is not directly taking part of that. So with that, let us come to the conclusion of that. And now we find that what you have learned from these verses is all. We find that Dhruva Maharaj has been advised by Swayambhuva Manu, who is one of the Mahajan, that at the death of his brother, Dhruva Maharaj became became angry, and under the influence of the Maya, he decided to kill all the, tell him the advice the right time that he should not act in this way, taking control of the things, that he is the controller, but Lord is the supreme controller, and he should rather surrender to the Lord and follow the instruction of the Lord about his duties and responsibilities. So one thing we have understood here, that Dhruva Maharaj was an exalted devotee of the Lord. He was an exalted devotee of the Lord. He has seen the Lord in face to face, and even he has fallen into the illusionary energy of the Lord. And so, what we can learn from here, that under the influence of material energy or the illusionary power of the Lord is so strong that it can anyway, it can at any time, we can be influenced under it, and we can get distracted from our real devotional service. That in case of Dhruva Maharaj, he had the opportunity that he has been advised by his grandfather was Mahajan, so he was able to get the direct advice from him. But for us, it is not always, it is not possible. So we should always remain. We should always remember this, that Maya Shakti is very, very strong, and in fact, in Bhagavad Gita 14, Sri Krishna has told Arjuna that Daivihesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durattvaya. This Maya Shakti is very, very strong, and we have to be very, very careful always to remain alert about the action of the Maya Shakti. And Maya Shakti has got two features. One is called Avaronatmika Shakti, and the other is called Prakshepatmika Shakti. And Avaron means cover. So what is the part of that Avaronatmika Shakti does? It covers us from the real knowledge. We under the influence of Avaronatmika Shakti, one doesn't get the real things, and he always acts under the influence of Maya and remain bound with the material activities. That is one thing. And incidentally, for those of us who are in Krishna consciousness movement, I think so that we are not that way. Because we know what is our activities, and we are in devotional service, so we are not that much influenced. As a general principle, I'm telling you, it doesn't mean that we are not affected. We are very much affected also, but that what I would say, that effect is a bit less for us. But the Prakshepatmika Shakti, that destruction power of this Maya Shakti is more, we are more vulnerable to this one. What I mean to say, that because every moment we may be influenced by the Maya, that whatever we do and whatever we're doing, we may be distracted from that. Once we are in devotional service, we can preliminary think that we are above the Avaronatmika Shakti, because we have the right knowledge, because from the Guru, Vaishnavas and the Shastra, we are associated with, that will keep us, that will make us a bit free from this Avaronatmika Shakti. But Prakshepatmika Shakti is very much active, even for, and applicable for many of us. We should be very, very careful about that. And we should strictly adhere to the instructions of our spiritual master, always remain in company of Sadhu Sangha or the devotees, and read the scriptures or the books written by Srila Prabhupada and other acharyas in our parampara. If we remember and always remember Krishna and never forget him any time, by remaining associated with devotional service, we can reduce the influence, we can reduce the chance of Prakshepatmika Shakti taking away us from the, distracting us from the devotional path. because we ourselves are not enough. I mean, no one should think himself to be so powerful that he can overcome it himself alone. And the blessings of the Vaishnavas, the blessing of the spiritual master, and the mercy of the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas are very important, and we should always stick to the instructions given by the spiritual masters. And some of the possible distraction some of the possible distraction I have just personally thought that we can mention here, that sometimes we become lazy and lack our determination. The determination is very important, because if we become in, I think, chapter 4, verse 40, Sri Krishna was telling to Arjuna, it is telling, Samshayatma vinashmati, Nayam lokoste no poro, no sukham samshayatma. So that means first, we can take first attack on our conviction. So we should remain determined in our devotional path. That is one thing. And we should not become lazy in doing our devotional service, rising early, doing our Mangalarati, and remain negligent in chanting the mantra. Do it as early in the morning as possible, so that the whole day we can remain free from the influence of Maya, and we should not have any doubt about the devotional service we are performing, and we can enhance it by reading the books of Srila Prabhupada and other books, and remembering the word of Srila Rupa Goswami, that Utsahan Nishchaya Dhuryan Tatat Karma Pravartana Prasangottagat Sato Vritti Sarvi Bhakti Prasiddhati. That means we should be enthusiastic and endeavoring in our confidence, and should be patient and follow the regulative principle, avoid the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of previous acharyas. And if we remain always surrendered to Krishna as a devotee and worship him continuously and hear about Lord Krishna in association of devotees, which we are doing, and what we are doing in this morning is also a part of that. So if we remain associated always with Krishna, then Maya cannot touch us. As Krishna Surya Shamo Maya Hayandhakar, Jaha Krishna Tahanai Maya Rudhikar, as mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22:31. And if we remember this, that if we associate with Krishna, Maya cannot touch us, we will be able to avoid the influence of Maya and remain in the path of our devotional service. And in the long run, if we do that successfully, we'll be able to go back to our abode of the Lord. And with that, I am concluding. If anybody has anything to add, please correct me. And if I have told anything wrong, please correct me. And I need your blessings so that I can correct myself in future also. I can move with that advice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Very
Hare Krishna,
beautiful.
Prabhu.
You have outlined everything. Yeah, that's the most important thing. The takeaway is always be in the association of the devotee. You never know. Even a mostly elevated devotee can fall down by the influence of Maya. That's what the example of Dhruva Maharaj is telling us. And with the two resources, Narad Muni and Shambhu Muni, the two Mahajan, even with the influence of two Mahajan also, Dhruva Maharaj even fall down for temporarily, but
Yes.
then Shambhu Muni has to come forward to remind him that this Maya is so influenced You need to be very careful about it. So even an elevated devotee can fall down at any moment with the illusory energy of the Lord. So where is our position? So it is a advice for all of us that we need to stick to our devotional service in the association of the devotees, reading the books, following the regulative principles, and then only we can save ourselves. Otherwise, there is no chance. Any moment you can fall down. Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing such a good, good outlook from the small verses, but lot of information inside. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your appreciation. And you have also clarified that we have to be careful about our falling down at any moment. And thank you for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a wonderful class. A lot of analysis. I like the point where you mentioned that religious principles are hidden in the heart of a pure devotee, and they establish the dharma. Therefore, we should always follow in the footsteps of the Mahajanas. So in Dhruva Maharaj's case, we see he was very fortunate to have two Mahajanas, Narad Muni and Sarabhara Manu, to guide him. So in spite of that, he deviated temporarily. So as Prabhu mentioned previously, very important to keep in association of devotees. Otherwise, we can easily get astray. Same thing happened to Bharat Maharaj. He was doing very strong sadhana, but he was not associating with the devotees. So that we got diverted. So it's very important for this, Prabhu. Unless we are in association with devotees, it will be very difficult to know what are the dharmic principles and to be in the right path. Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing this important point. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for that. And also you have nicely pointed out that how Bharat Maharaj was had done everything, but he fell down finally at one stage he fell down. The reason is that, as you have also pointed out, that he was not in association. He was alone. So we should never forget that we whatever we may think about ourselves, but we are always prone to fall down. So we should always remain in association with devotees who are our guiding, who can guide us and help us every moment. And we should always follow the instruction of the senior Vaishnavas and the devotees. And their mercy and the from Guru and Vaishnavas are the only hope for us that we will remain in the devotional service in the right track always.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, you have nicely
Hare
explained
Krishna.
with so many verses. And just, yeah, we would like to remember always how Maya is strong. And I never know about that, that Maya Shakti is having different two Shaktis. First time I heard about that Avaran Shakti and Pratma Shakti. So also we can see how yesterday Prabhupada's lecture, how Maya is strong and how our senses is strong, that he has given the example of Saubhari Muni. So
Yes.
means where we are then. So
Yes.
that's why, yeah, takeaway point is we have to stay with association with the devotees and Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Guru, Sri Vaishnava and Sadhu Shastra Guru, means three things we have to keep it with us always, 4 hours a day. Yeah, nice class, Prabhu. Thank you.
For that. Just for your information, Mataji, it is there in Prabhupada has told this in Los Angeles in 1972 in a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. He has mentioned this Avaranatmika Shakti and Prakshepika Shakti. Avaranatmika Shakti covers us to know the real truth, the real knowledge, and Prakshepatmika Shakti, even we are there, it is every moment it tries to deflect us from our path that we cannot follow it. And we must remember that it is Lord's energy, very difficult to overcome alone, unless we are blessed by the seniors and Vaishnavas. It is very difficult for us to overcome that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Praksatma Atmika Shakti is more stronger than Avaran Atmika Shakti. Yeah.
I mean, for us, Mataji, it is not both are strong, but the thing is, for us, the devotees, we are doing devotional service. We already know that we are a bit free from that because at least we are not ignorant that way. We are doing devotional service. But for us, the Prakshatmika Shakti is quite likely to make more damage. That I wanted to mean.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we all means we should know who are the enemies of us.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, any further comments? We'll end here. Thank you very much, Abash Goswami Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I'd like to hear you more often and often. Thank you. His Grace Abash Goswami Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Jai. Kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhayeva patithanam pavunebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.